Hi, I'm Natalie, and this is So Hungry Hippie Sewing. Today we are going to be making the Hope Handbag, which is a pattern by Mrs. H, and I absolutely love it. This is included in the Anna Maria box. If you purchase that monthly curated box, you will have all the materials that I am using, plus a sheet explaining some of the changes that I will be making to the pattern today. A couple of these changes include, I have a little list here. We're going to extend the handles and add some additional hardware. I did this on my original make and I super duper love the result. You can always omit this if you're not comfortable with it and you want to follow her pattern to the T. Absolutely fine, the choice is yours. I'll be walking you through the way that I do it. Another change that we're going to be doing is we have a bit of cork in your box for you. I'm going to use cork on the bag bottom and possibly for one of the angled pocket accent pieces. I think it'll look really pretty with this Anna Maria fabric that we're using. So there's another change. And also for the lining, we're going to be using So Hungry Hippie fabric canvas in this teal color. And because of the weight and the body of this fabric, we don't need to interface it. So that's a huge time saver for us. We're not going to be fusing SF101 to the wrong side of any of the lining pieces. It is such a great result without it, using the canvas from the shop. Let's see, I think, the plastic base, we will not need it. So we didn't include that in the box. It's just more to deal with at the end of the bag, and we don't need it because we're using the foam. I did include for you the hardware packets, the bag feet, the zipper end, leather strap for handle. So for now, I'm going to walk you through cutting out your pieces, cutting out the foam for the most part. I do have some tools that I highly recommend you have on hand. And that includes a nylon mallet. We have this in our shop at sohungryhippie.com if you don't have one. These are very, very useful for mashing down those thick seams. Rotary cutter, hem gauge. I am going to have a little bit of SF101 on hand for exterior fabrics. You do want your clips. I love, love, love using Wonder Clips. I have my adhesive 505 spray on standby just in case I need it. Sometimes with foam that can be really helpful. You also want the corner tool. Mine, I have the short one here right now. And you'll want to have a scalpel just in case any mistakes are made or if we need to pop anything open for pulling it through. Have your pattern nearby so you can jot down notes. So have a pen, your favorite sewing machine threaded and ready with multiple bobbins just in case. Your iron, mine is on high heat like always. I have my Ironmatic pad there that you will see me put on camera. And a positive attitude and a can-do spirit. As always, you can do whatever you think you can, and vice versa is true as well. So let's get into this. In her pattern, she does have these nice cutout sheets that you can use to label your pattern pieces. Right now, I have just cut 2 of the foam for the exterior, but I need to cut out my fabric. I also have a rotary cutter that I use to cut out my pattern pieces because the cutting paper with your rotary will really dull it quickly, so you don't want to use your fabric one for that. Okay, and now I'm just going to be quiet so that we can concentrate and cut out our pieces. You do have plenty of fabric in your kit to do this the way that I'm doing it, so feel free. There is no grain on this pattern piece. You can just cut it how it fits. I can slide that up a bit. Conserve fabric as much as possible. I folded it so that I can cut the reverse image at the same time. So now I'm going to have to cut that fold because that is not meant to be a fold. Let me grab my pink ruler. Okay, so the base I have cut, cork, and foam, and here's the pattern piece and some information, so I'm going to set that aside. Now I need to cut a lot of lining pieces. Fun. The leftovers you can use for zipper pouch, matching zipper pouch, or whatever you want. Hair tie thing, scrunchies, whatever. Have fun with it. Okay. So next step, we want to interface these contrast pocket pieces for sure, because the quilting cotton does not have enough weight to look really good. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to bring over my ironing mat and starch them, and then I will fuse the SF101 because it just behaves better in my opinion once it's a little starched. So where did my little, here it is. I love these misting bottles. They give a really fine mist all over and you don't have to constantly pump, use the pump action. So that was just one squeeze. Okay, we'll go overhead a sec. Smells good too. Now remember that other pocket piece is cork, so I don't need to interface that. So where is my little, lay this out. Try to use whatever straight edges I can so that I'm cutting a little bit less. So let me move my mat for a moment. Really cut these out. Ugh. The glue, the dots are up, facing the wrong side of the fabric. I try to get it pretty precise because I don't want lots of glue getting on my iron plate. All these leftover pieces will be used again, and if not in this project, in another project. So I definitely save all this. All right, let's bring the mat in and fuse these. Again, the glue dots are up. It's like a raised bumpy surface right here. And we're gonna fuse it to the fabric now. Now I usually just use my dry iron and I don't have any issues with it adhering. If you feel like you need to use steam or your spray bottle, you can. I'll do that one with it. I pretty much never do that though. And yes, I'm using high heat. Get all the wrinkles out first and then press. Sometimes, especially when I was sort of on the beginning end of my sewing experience, I would flip it over and make sure that I caught the edges and there were no bumps and wrinkles. You can do that as well. It's really up to you. Okay, that's fused. So now we can get into making the pattern. I do have zippers for you in the pattern. Oh, that was one more change. She uses a number 3 size zipper for the inside pocket, but I'm going to be using number 5 size. We don't have to do anything different. We really don't. Right away, right beside the cutting out instructions, it's on the opposite page. So we have our top curved piece. You want to lay these out on your work surface so that you are sure to put them together the right way. So in the pattern, she has this very well laid out. So here's our top piece. Here is this, what are we calling this? Left pocket piece, or that's for me. I hope it isn't. Yeah, and this one's the right angled pocket. So let me grab right angled pocket. And just make sure that everything is correct and oriented right. See how this is going to come together for the bag shape? Very pretty. So it looks like after we're fusing the interfacing to our cotton pieces and this. We're just going to sew right along here. Now it may help you to use your seam gauge. We're using a 3/8 inch seam allowance on this bag. So I like to remind myself, because I was just sewing garments and whatnot, where that is at. So I put this at 3/8 of an inch and I draw, because it's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's right. It's so much bigger than how it looks or how it sounds. So it's good to remind yourself. And then if you want to, you can come in and draw the line. I need to check that one right there. See that? I would not have sewn that big enough, I'll tell you that right now. Okay, here we go. Let's go to the machine. I'm just using Gutermann Sew All thread again. Just the seam allowance is open or to one side. I'm pushing mine to one side like I normally do. Flip the page, place to one side, and then match two angled pocket right sides together and sew along the top edges. Okay, so we're not to here just yet. Hold on a second. Left, this is the right. Here are the two right ones that they were talking about. Okay, I don't think I'm going to use cork. I think I'm going to go leave the cork on the outside and use these two for the next step, which looks like now it says is number 3. Oh, I see. 1 was fused, 2 was sew what we just did. Now we're on step 3. So let me iron these first. I'm going to spray them. Pretty sure this is the lining to this pocket. So I'm not positive. I really need to interface these inside pieces because they're going to be on the inside. So if I starch them really well, I think they'll behave and it'll be just fine. Let's set them up. Short edges. She's got the short edge down here. This, and we're going to sew right here. Machine. All right, you can top stitch if you want to, but it's not needed. So step 3 we just did, and now we have to place the paragraph right under step 3. Once sewn, so we did our pockets. We folded those, we sewed those right sides together, folded it. If you want to, you can top stitch here, but you don't have to. A very small pocket anyways. I think it'll be fine without a top stitch. All right, we just finished step 3 where we sewed these pocket pieces together, and here's the top edge. If you want to top stitch it, you can. I'm not going to because I want it to look like there's no pocket there. I think it'll be really noticeable if I top stitch it. So place these fabric pieces wrong sides together. Take this piece that we already constructed and lay this right on top, matching the raw edges. As best you can. And we're going to baste this down. So baste it from here, I think here and here. Turning my stitch length way up because this is a baste. I'm using 4 right now. So a lot of times I'd use 5, but not today. Taking a smaller seam allowance here. I'm just using my foot. That would be the pocket then. Okay, let's see. Back to the table. Okay, so now number 4, place the combined panel piece. So see how this is the shape, this is the top of the bag, sides and the bottom. I'm just going to trim that dog ear, not with my finger. Okay. This is how we want it to go together. And I'm going to sew right down that edge with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. And I'm turning my stitch length back to just under 3. Great. And now we can treat this as one panel. You can see my pocket here. I think this does need to be basted down. I'm just going to do that really quick. Otherwise, I think it might flip up. Okay. All right. Now we can trim any dog ears. That's what they're called in quilting. Sorry if you're new to that. I'm not trying to be weird. Okay. There we are. There's that panel. So now we can take this panel and place it on some foam. This is where a lot of times I like to use the 505 spray. It's not absolutely necessary, but I like it. Anything to make it a little bit easier. Don't worry, those spots will go away. It'll dry off. If you don't have any 505, if you press the fabric to the foam, it sticks a little bit. Not like it sticks, but it stays in place a little more easily. So there's a trick in case you don't have 505. Just iron it just like that and then proceed with basting. Since I have the tool here, I'm going to use it. So I typically leave foam in my seam allowance. It's just how I do things. But if your machine can't handle layers, definitely trim it out of the seam allowance. Okay, I'm turning my stitch length up, and let's go to the sewing machine view. We're just basting. Okay, I'm gonna switch my stitch length back down so I don't forget. So those are now basted. Such pretty fabric. All right, let's mark our centers. The way I like to do this is to fold my bag in half. Quick chalk mark. And there it is. And that way the chalk can be removed later. For this side. All right, so she tells us in the pattern that that will be helpful later. All right, let's move on. We're now on create the lining zippered pocket. And again, I'm going to be using number 5 zipper tape. Don't cut this until we have our zipper window complete, because sometimes there is a disparity between the length of the zipper called for if you're using zipper by the yard, like I will be. This is So Hungry Hippie zipper tape. And again, it's number 5, even though the pattern says number 3 for the pocket. It'll be fine. On the wrong side of G1, which is this one, we're going to draw a box that is 1/2 inch from each long edge and 1 inch from each short edge. Okay, 1/2 inch. Draw a line. And then 1 inch on the short. So in here is where we will have our zipper go. I'm just drawing this so you can see the little triangles at each end. There's our zipper box. So we're going to put this on one of the lining pieces, 1 inch down from the top edge. And centered. And for this is just fabric. I'm going to use pins. I pin it out here. I don't have to remove them while I'm sewing. And then we will sew the box with a tiny stitch length. So I'm going to use a 2. I don't use steam in my iron, so I'm just going to spray it, starch, press it, fold it down at the stitching line, press, fold it up, fold it in. Now we're going to cut that center line. I like to use a ruler for this and a small rotary cutter, 28 mil. And then for the corners, I use snips, scissors. Any scissor that you can really control well will work. You want it to be sharp. You want to get right up in there into that corner, but not through the sewn stitches. Okay. Now we'll push this through. What's great about the canvas is there's really not a wrong side. So whatever side you choose is okay. Nobody's going to be able to tell, so don't stress too much about that. I'm going to bring back over my ironing pad. And I'm loving that I'm not dealing with a bunch of interfacing. It just really behaves well, this fabric canvas. You could also use waterproof canvas, water resistant canvas, whatever you like, but I'm using what is in our Anna Maria box this month. If you have a pucker in the corners at all, I don't know if you can get in here and see this. I have a tiny pucker and it's because of this one stitch. So I just released it to release that pressure and it's good now. Here's G3. Okay, now I'm going to take one zipper length. Okay, so let's place our zipper just as her photo shows in the pattern along this top edge. Press it in place and we're going to sew down. Your pull should be over here. Okay, let's go back. So now it says we stitched that in place. We're going to fold it over to the wrong side and press. Add a line of double-sided sticky tape to the right side of the upper edge of G2. Here's G2. Okay, so we've got double-sided sticky tape up here. Let's sew this edge down. Okay, so this is how it looks. And this is how it looks on this side. This is all step 10. We just attached that pocket that we made to here. Now we're going to have to sew this down. So let's flip page number 11 with the zip pocket top and bottom, G2 and G3. G2, G3. Flat, stitch around all four edges of the outside of the box opening to secure the zipper panel. I'm going to sew it from looking from the front since this is what is going to show. And I just want to make sure this is all really flat. Where did I put my mallet? Well, who knows now? I just had it. Just gonna mash this down. Seems like it wouldn't do much, but it helps a lot. So now these are, make sure that you've got your pockets open. Make sure this isn't folded down like that. I just thread, there we go. You might want to use matching thread probably, but I'm gonna leave my pink color in so you can see what I'm doing. I know the zipper tape, the zipper teeth look metal, but they're not. All right, let's go. There it is. It's attached. So now that it's attached on the wrong side of the lining, we're going to bring the top pocket down. And then I'm going to throw some pins in here, but you want to make sure that you're moving the main body out of the way. We are going to leave, we're going to leave that bottom section open. That's how we're going to turn the bag out later. That's how we're going to birth the bag. So we're just sewing closed these sides, and then I'm going to come in a little bit and probably baste this so that I have a nice clean edge at the end. But you don't want to sew the pocket down with the main body down, because then you're going to see the stitches. So you got to move it out of the way, kind of fold it back, and let's sew down this edge, and then we'll do the same on the other. I'm going to come over, I'm going to move the body out of the way, and then along this bottom, I'm turning my stitch length up way high to 5 and basting this. I'll have to unpick these later to birth the bag, but at least I'm training the fabric on what I want it to do later. I'm going to turn it back down to a 3 stitch. Coming up the sides here, moving the bag out of the way. All right. Okay, good. Zipper is in. Pocket is lined and functional. Whew. Okay, awesome. Remember, this is basted, so right now I can just go ahead and open that up. Basting it just helps to train the fabric to fold nicely when we go to close that on the very last step. Okay? All right, open the zip. Now we're going on to, let's open the zipper and leave it alone. That's because we need to be able to birth the bag later. So step 13, fold the lining slip pocket, that's F, this one. Right sides together to form a rectangle, 11 inches wide, 5 inches tall. So let's fold this. Right sides together. And we're going to sew around the 3 open edges, leaving a turning gap in one edge. So I'll probably leave my turning edge down here at the bottom somewhere. Take it to the machine. Trim corners. I have a little there. tool that we have in the shop, the Easy Expert Point and Press tool, really helps. It's a little bit, it's smaller. It has two ends, and one end is really small and one is larger. So you can use whichever suits you best to get a really nice crisp edge and corners. Now we can lay that on our remaining lining piece. Find the center. I like to do a centering crease. And then the same with this, do a centering crease. And then how far up are we supposed to go here? Let's see, center pretty close. Let's have a ruler. Three from the bottom. One. Pins in here before I turn it or move it. I think I will divide the pocket because that's pretty long. I don't want it to gap out when I'm using it. So I'm gonna do the sides and the bottom and then sew up the middle to divide this pocket. So let's go to the machine. And I always reinforce these top corners quite a bit. Trim your threads now, easiest. There. Okay, so we just finished step 14, and there's our edge. Now we're gonna move to step 15, which is attaching the zipper closure. So for this one, we're gonna do that fold under technique at the top of the zipper. I'm gonna take you overhead, and I do it with a machine. You don't have to. You can do it with hand stitches or even staples I've seen people use, but this is what I do. So I take that zipper and I do like a 90-degree corner, just pinching it, folding it under. And then I stick a pin here and I'll do some stitching. Sometimes I have to do it a couple of times because I want them to be even. Oh, lucky me. Pretty even. I'm going to turn my stitch length down to 2. Carefully take out my pin. And it'll stay like that. too early. I hope. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. All right, so now we are on step 16, and we need to mark this piece. This is C. We have 2 pieces for C, and I'm taking my chalk, and you need to mark 2 inches from the right and 1.5 from the left side. Don't do anything with this one yet. And you start it at that marking. Raw edges matching. Okay. And away. There's the second mark. Oh, now the second mark is here. Use a pin or clip here. Fold it and pull the zip up and away from the bottom edge and pin or clip to the side at 1 inch from the bottom edge. Okay, that's right there. Okay. Go to the machine. So I can turn my stitch length up. I'm going to do a 4. Make sure your pull is out of the way. Now, and my question is, am I basting this part? Let me check really quick. I'll stop at that mark then for now. Step 18, add another line of basting tape, this time along the entire bottom edge over interior top C and the zip. Okay, over the whole edge. This is lining bottom, by the way. So we added our tape, add 1 lining bottom right sides together, matching the raw edges, and then stitch. Okay, here we go. We're going to take our 3/8 inch seam allowance. Go to the machine. I'm going to turn it back down to my normal stitch length. Nice. So that's attached. Let's go. The seam allowances towards the top. These seam allowances are going towards the top. And we're going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch from the edge to ensure the fabric is kept free from the zipper edge. And then we do all of that again for the other side. Now we're working with this side. I'm going to use this. So again, let's see. 1.5 inches from this right side, so it's just the opposite, and 2 from the left. And then we put basting tape in between here. Let's make sure these are lined up. All right, so now let's sew. Not all the way down because we have to leave that little space. We have to add the other body piece. I'll flip it up like this. All the way across. Right sides together. I'm going to flip it and sew from this side because I can see where I sewed before. Make sure your zipper pull is out of the way. Okay. Same thing for this one. We press it so that the seams are going up towards C. This is C. And let's top stitch that down. All right. So now here it is from the top. Got it pretty lined up for the most part. You want to have at least an inch out here. I'm going to trim this down just a smidge. And I kind of fold it in. You could add a dab of glue there if you're so inclined. I find that I typically don't need it. My zipper tape is pretty chunky. So now we are finishing the lining. This is step 21. Match the side and bottom edges. Sew together, leaving the corner cutouts open. So we're just going to sew the sides and the bottom. I don't think I took a big enough seam allowance, so allow me to draw a smidge too thin, so it's good to pull it out and sew that down without catching that zipper. More, I think. So to be clear, we did not sew the curves there. I think I should have carried on up to here though. That it just wasn't wanting to go through there. There we go. Okay. So now we are on, so we just did 21. Yep. Press open the seam allowances of the lining as far as possible, but at least the top and bottom 2 inches. Okay. Let's see what we can do. If you have a mini iron, it could be good to use that. Now we're going to do our bottoms. You know, I like to nest my seams, so I'm going to put one seam one way and the other seam the other way, rather than having them open. It's just what I prefer. I feel like it's stronger. You'd also use clips here. You don't have to use pins. And we're using a 3/8 inch seam allowance on the bottom here. Place the lining to the side for now. Remember, that's the pocket opening that we're going to birth the bag. I like to stick my hands in here and make sure that all my seams are good to go. From what I can tell so far, it looks okay. So there's the lining of the bag. Create the exterior. So on this part, I'm changing it up just a bit because I'm not going to do the handles like she does in the pattern. I'm using my sewable leather strap, and I'm going to cut it in half, and we'll stick these in at the end because we're going to use some hardware. I just think it's fun and it's easy. So right now, I'm going to cut them to the same length. And they are sewable. You don't have to use rivets. You can if you want, but I'm going to be using the sewing machine. So I'm going to skip 24, 25, 26, and I'm going to go to 27, which is for the bottom. Prepare the base by punching 4 holes in the base. Place them 2 inches from each short edge and 1/2 inch away from the long edges. So I'm going to take my cork and my foam, and I'm going to baste them together. So again, I'm doing it a little bit different than her pattern, but the same concept. So I'm just going to take these pieces and baste them together for right now. And we'll put in the bag feet. So I'm going to make marks 2 inches. I'll use a darker pen so you can see. Here's 2 inches from that short edge. 2 inches from that short edge. Okay. That's where those bag feet need to go. Tiny, tiny little slits. that one. There we are. I push from this side so I can see the slit on this side because it's really hard to see from the right side. I'm going to turn it so it stays out of the seam allowance. So in other words, it's not, the metal feet are not going into the seam allowance. They're out of it. All right, let's see if this one went all the way through. Bag feet are in. Okay, number 29, matching centers. So each exterior, which are these guys, so each exterior B to the base A, right sides together, leaving 3/8 of an inch unsewn at each end of the base. Okay. I'm going to mark the center on this one so I know that I'm matching them up good. Getting close. Now, she says 3/8 of an inch. We want to stop sewing here. 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 Let's do this side first. I need to turn my stitch length back down to normal, 3 for me. If you have to jog around your bag feet, that's okay. We're stopping here. Jog a little bit around those, but that's all right. Now let's go back to this side. Centering mark with this one. That looks good. Now we want to sew the side edges. in the bag. This is step 31. All right, here we are. Woo. Turn the exterior right sides out. I love it so far. I'm going to give this a quick press. I have a ham, and I like to use this sometimes. It's not just for garments, but especially in a bag like this. Let's go overhead. I'm gonna put the ham in here and just give this body a quick press. Oh, that side looks crisp. It's just this side that needs a little help. All right, let's go on. We are going to 32. Place the exterior bag inside the lining bag. Let me open this up. Zipper pocket is open. The bottom is open. This is going to be a really, really tight fit, so you want to make sure that you're helping yourself by having everything open that should be. Right sides are facing. The back lining panel matches back exterior panel. We don't have our handles in, so we don't have to worry about that right now. Now we have to make some markings so that we're not sewing shut where we're going to slide the handles in. So I'm going to take my little hem gauge and mark at a 1/2 inch, and then again at 2 inches. And I'm measuring from that outer edge. That's where we're going to slip in our handle. Okay. Now I want to do the same over here. This one looks like it may have moved a smidge. Half, 2. Okay. Now this side, 1/2 inch, 2. So we will sew in between all these markings, but not here. So we'll sew this very edge, skip this. So from here to here, skip this. Sew the edge and down and up and over. Skip this. So skip that and up and down. Okay? Do this. I'm going to start down here, I think, in the side seam. But I may have to move a little bit physically so that I can get this sewn. And the back stitch. Skipping where I'm putting those handles. Back stitch. Skipping where I put the handles. Shifted a little bit, but that's okay. Be all right, we can just trim. Stab myself with a dang pen. Okay, we're back to where we started. Now, in these curves, you could use pinking shears if you'd like to lessen the amount of little snips you have to make. It's not that big of an area though, so I'm okay with doing this. I'm going to trim down some of this seam allowance. Whenever there's a big pivot like this, I try to trim down that seam allowance so it sits nicely. Trim your corners. You can fray check these ends if you want to. I'm not going to because my fray check is frozen solid. Let's turn this puppy through the zipper pocket. Take your time here. Don't try to go too fast and bust your seams. We are almost there. be too alarmed with the holes for your handles just yet. Just relax, it's gonna be okay. Let's take our straps and the hardware. A couple of different things you can do here, but I'm gonna show you what I like. I'm gonna cut off a 2-inch piece, and I'm gonna put it down in here, tucking in all these raw edges, and I'm gonna sew right across there. Now, if you prefer, you can rivet that. If you rather do that, that's totally fine. I have a rivet press tutorial for you, remember. At any time, please use it if you need it. And when you're putting these in, I want you to stick them way down in there so the D-ring is pretty much hitting that top seam. Let's do all 4. Let's place all 4 of them. And then we'll sew them all at one time. Now, if you don't have a strong machine that can go through layers, then you might want to do rivets here or Chicago screws instead. Or even if your machine is strong, but you don't want to sew anymore. I get it. Okay, let's go to the overhead. Hear that? That's going through fabric, foam, 2 layers of leather straps, and a layer of canvas. Now I am using a chrome needle. They do say going faster is better for your machine. My tendency is to want to go really slow. Yeah, I think it is better faster. Okay, there's one. It's totally up to you. I'm going to trim these threads while I'm right here. Okay, let's finish her up. All we're going to do is take our hardware, we're going to feed that 3/4 inch strap through. Again, you can do a rivet here if you rather. But these straps are made to be sewn. One. First strap is very easy. The second strap, you have to make sure it's the same length as the first one. Trim So here is this one. I'm going to do one, I'm going to sew one end down, and then I'm going to take it back over and measure it with the second one. Don't eyeball this, please. Do measure. Okay, there's one. All right. Now? Flatten the top. Oh. Let me do a clip here and I'll just check. Turn this guy over. Now instead of D rings, you can use rectangle rings as well. I'm gonna flip this on here. I do have to close up that lining pocket, zipper pocket bottom, then we're done. So let me pull that pocket bottom out. Just give it a quick turn it under. You can press it. There we are. Sew that shut. Do check and make sure that you've got both sides of the pocket and it's solidly closed, because I'll tell you, one time I missed that and then I went and lost my dang keys. It went out of the bottom of the zipper pocket and into the insides of my bag, and I could hear them jingling, but it was so weird until I realized, oh my gosh, it's in between the layers. Oh, I just love this bag. The inside is good to go. I need to give it a really good press all around the top. And I will do that off camera. But there it is. There's that little slip-in pocket. I think it would be great if you did add a piece of interfacing to that pocket like she calls for. I was thinking I was going to do it all in cork, and then I switched my mind last minute. So be sure to do that. Wipe off all your markings. Press these top edges really well. You can top stitch if you want to, but take the time to press them. Sometimes what I'll do is roll them how I want them, press, and then put little clips on just to let it sit overnight, and it will make it look really nice by morning. So see how that gives me plenty of room? You can carry it like that, you can carry it like that. Yeah, there we are. And some of those modifications, that was me, so if you have any trouble, you can blame me, not Mrs. H. And this is, I hope you had fun. I hope you like it. Make some more, because this is a super cute bag to carry around. I did one in soft gold vinyl maybe 5 years ago. I didn't remember anything about it, so this was me winging it as well. So don't feel bad if you have any mess ups, just keep going, keep trying. Now, if you want to cover your stitching, if you didn't use brown thread, one of the tricks I sometimes do is color it with Sharpie, and it stays on forever. Sharpie is permanent marker. But the best choice would be to use a brown thread with those straps. All right, peace up sewing.